Guys. Um, so today's topic is going to be about surviving the distance. It's a really good topic to talk about. Um, the question I get all the time: how do you survive the distance? Um, well, everybody handles it differently, you know? With me, surviving the distance, it's just more like, trying to manage a long distance relationship kind of thing. Um, it's honestly a really, really good question. I just simply say if you love someone that much, especially if it's someone in the military, anything is possible. A relationship is manageable. I I've been in many multiple relationships, but I feel like this one's like one of the hardest things to go through, you know? I I've been through at least 6 or 7 long distance relationships. Only one has worked out, which is pretty much the one I'm in currently. Now, my tip on if your significant other is trying to go into the military, just be aware that you two are going to be a long distance. I learned that the hard way. I usually don't handle long distance that well because of the emotional attachment. But now, sometimes it gets easy. Sometimes it's really, really hard. You know, um, I managed a almost 14-month relationship, and he moved to South Carolina at our uh, like 2 month mark ish, 3. That that really put an impact on me, and me and him were managing a long distance relationship. One time he told me, he's like, if you don't want to manage a long distance relationship, you don't have to. And I said, I love you enough to do that. If you're willing to do that for that person, that's all that should matter. Managing the relationship is hard, but the distance makes it even harder. But in the military, it's different. Um, Geez, this is one of the hardest topics I've ever tried to discuss. But surviving the distance, pretty much that's the theme for tonight. You know, surviving the distance, it's a tough thing to manage. People ask me all the time, how do I do it? And what's my secret to keeping the relationship alive even though your significant other is, you know, in a whole different state. And I said, it's it's not easy. And um, it's it's just pretty much the waiting game, really. I mean, yes, my boyfriend's currently in North Carolina, but he's leaving at the beginning of October to go all the way to California, which is all the way on the other side of the country from where I live. You know, I thought about it. One time I thought to myself, I'm like, how did I do that? How am I doing this now? And then now that I think back on it, I'm doing a pretty good job. My tip into a longer lasting, long distance relationship is pretty much keeping your faith in the relationship, you know? I learned that a long while ago. You know, this is literally the hardest topic I've ever had to discuss. I honestly never thought about it. But I asked a friend, I was like, you know, what do you think is a good topic to talk about? And she said, surviving the distance. And I said, that's going to be a little bit of a tough one to talk about, but I think I can manage that, you know. But with managing the long distance thing, I know it's not easy. Trust me. I know. You just can't give up on a relationship if there's a lack of communication, because you know, you never know what your significant other is doing in the military right now, you know. They could be going through a lot of training, they could be going through a lot of mental stress, emotional stress, or even physical stress. In my case, I don't get to talk to my boyfriend much. He's got a lot going on, especially with the hurricane that just recently hit North Carolina, where he's at. He said they're just still doing the cleaning process, I believe, but now they're getting back into the training process, getting their butts back into gear, per se. And it's just like, you know, distance is like one of the hardest things any couple could do. But if you love someone that much, there's really nothing you can do. Sometimes people have a physical attachment, and you know, it's really not the easiest thing to go through. Um I don't like distance, but if you're willing to do anything for your significant other or a family member, that's something I can definitely do. But with the distance thing, a lot of people take it differently. But a really good tip is to survive the distance is pretty much stay strong. That's all you can do. I know my eyeliner is not all the way even, but I'm not complaining about that right now. Almost 14 months into my relationship, and you know, um, managing the distance, it just depends on the couple, I guess. One of the hardest things you have to do is manage the distance, especially the military. You know, I've been in the military relationship for a while. Like, even before he went in the military, he talked about it. The only thing that screwed me up was he didn't tell me. I got upset. And I even texted him one day. I said, you know, why didn't you tell me that you were planning on this? Because get this. I found out through his mother. And she thought I knew. And I was like, no, I did not know. And then he's like, which I completely understand. He's like, I just didn't want you to talk me out of it again. And I said, okay, but you could have just told me. I would have understood. Because if you were already going through the process, then there's no really way I could stop it, you know? Man, I did not realize that my right eye was better than my left, but that's usually how it is with my makeup. But, okay, now I'm just going off topic here. Um, I've never had this much of a hard time figuring out the best way to explain how the distance is being managed, you know? Um, I just really can't think of anything. I I'm pretty much confused at this point, you know? But, you know, managing the distance is hard. I can tell you that much. But when you've been with someone for so long and you don't really want to date anybody after you've been dating one person for so long. That's how I feel at this point. It's it's a long process. Um, oh, shoot, dropped my phone. Sorry. Um, I guess the best thing I could really say about that is just keep doing what you're doing. Um, I've just never really had this much of a hard time just explaining it. Like, just survive the relationship. That's all you can really do. If he changes his mind at the end of the thing, that's all on him. It's not you. It's him or her or whatever. Um, so far, my boyfriend never saw distance as a problem because he's been in long distance relationships too. So I completely can relate. But we met online, we met in person, and then the relationship just got better through that. And luckily, we weren't a long distance relationship at first. But um, now we are going through a long distance relationship. And it's one of the hardest things you have to do, you know? But distance is sometimes worth it. When you meet them in person, just know it is worth it. And when you see your significant other in person again, boy, would the wait be worth it. I'm telling you that. When I'm reunited with my boyfriend over almost a month ago, actually, it has been over a month. When you reunite, you're with your significant other, for example, Marine Family Day. All of the girls that I've been talking to, they can relate. Being reunited with your significant other is the best feeling you could ever feel. Especially after 3.5 months, 4 months, don't know how long, without any mobile communication um, or even like video calls or text messages or anything. You could only send letters. I hated sending letters because, after like my 10th or 11th letter, I did not know what else to say. I was like, what in the world? What in the world do I say now? Because I've said pretty much everything. But make sure if there's girls going through the boot camp phase right now and you're sending them a letter, make sure it's a letter of encouragement. Don't bring them down. I learned my lesson on that one. He actually commented and said to me, like, you need to send words of encouragement and not make me miss you too much. And then I wrote again in my letter and I said, I'm sorry about that. I just was describing how I feel. It's okay to describe how you feel, but saying it in a letter is kind of not the best thing to do it, you know? Um, when I was going through that, I had a lot of emotions going through my head. Like, I did not know what to feel or how to feel about it, you know? The worst feeling to know that your significant other is going into the military is That's the first thing that comes into your head. The distance. Like, what in the world are you going to do with that? And then now that you go through that, and then you realize what other girls go through or other boys go through, because vice versa. I think after that, they usually understand. I didn't understand it because I never went through it. Up until he told me he was leaving for boot camp or whatever. He visited me back in April. He stayed, I think, for like, I think a couple weeks. Because he was originally going to leave before my school prom, my senior prom. But he told me, he's like, I'm staying longer. I want to go to prom with you. I'm glad he made that decision. That was literally the best prom I've ever been to, even though it was only my first one. Best one of the school dances I went through. When I went to my first school dance back in middle school, oh my goodness. It was bad. And then I didn't go to a dance in high school up until I was a junior. When I had a boyfriend, I dated him on and off for 10 months. I hate him. I can say that much. He pretty much fucked me up. Excuse me for my language, but he fucked me up. I've never hated someone so much. But as I was saying, but back to the distance thing. You can do this. I'm only doing this YouTube channel to encourage the other girls and other boys even who are going through the exact same thing as I am. I already knew I wasn't alone. It's just I thought I was going to be handling it by myself. Then I met the girls that I have been talking to for at least almost 6 months. They are literally the best girls I've ever talked to. I felt like I was going to go through it by myself, but then I realized, like, I know I'm not alone. I don't have to go through this by myself. Because I met my girls through a group that I put myself in for my boyfriend's platoon at basic training. And first I met my friend Toya, and then it gradually grew from meeting Robin, Cami, and Sarah. Those are all the girls' names. I love them to death. They helped me through this whole entire process. When I had days of doubt, they were right there to help me pick myself back up. Because knowing they were going through the exact same thing at the exact same time. And then when I met them in person back in August, which was pretty much last month, I think exactly 1 month ago I met them in person. I was so excited. Of course, the last person I met in person was Toya, but I just couldn't find her anywhere even. But then when now I look back on it, I'm like, I could have met her in person on family day, but yeah, I was too focused on seeing my boyfriend. So, boy, was I excited on that day. That was the best moment I've ever had in a long, long time. Well, I'm going to conclude this talk. Again, I hope my advice can somehow change your perspective on how you live the military life. And, I just hope you come up with ideas for me to talk about. Because, I'm open to ideas. It doesn't have to all be about military life. It could be pretty much anything. I can talk about anything that you want. So, that concludes my video, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.